Breaking news on Capitol Hill. Ukraine's president is there meeting with senators any moment now after wrapping talks with members of the House. And Volodymyr Zelensky is making a direct plea for aid as Republicans question just how much more money to send to war-torn Ukraine. His visit comes just hours after Russia unleashed a new barrage of attacks on Ukraine overnight, and its biggest assault in more than a month. Let's bring in NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Vitali, former U.S. ambassador to Russia Michael McFaul, and former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine William Taylor. It's a pleasure to have all of you as part of this conversation. We have right now these live images from Capitol Hill where you are, Ali, and we can see President Zelensky walking down the hall. How did things go in the House meeting, as far as we know, for Zelensky, and what are we expecting to hear in the Senate?
Well, look, Anna, that's going to be one of the key questions that we ask, because, of course, the difference of dynamics between the House and the Senate is stark on an issue like Ukraine. For Zelensky, we've heard from Speaker McCarthy and other members of his Republican conference that this new plea for continued aid comes amid a larger conversation here on Capitol Hill of stalemate over spending, specifically many hardline conservatives who want to see steeper spending cuts, that they're trying to leverage the fact that they actually have the majority to get them done. It's why we've seen over the course of the last few days a true stalemate and paralysis of the House as McCarthy tries to maneuver through his conference. And so this visit from Zelensky comes against that backdrop. Nevertheless, when you think about the Senate side dynamics, you have some in the Republican Party who are tepid on their support, others saying they're not even going to come to this closed-door meeting with the Ukrainian president because they can't support continued support for Ukraine. Nevertheless, listen to the differences in the conversations here. You've got someone like Senator Kennedy offering tepid support on the Republican side, and then someone on the Democratic side, and Senator Mark Warner, saying this is imperative. Watch.
Look, I do not consider our aid, economic and military, defense-oriented, to Ukraine to be charity. But we have to constantly keep the pressure on our friends in Europe to do their part.
An authoritarian government, a dictator like Vladimir Putin, winning in Ukraine will make every American less safe. I mean, Ronald Reagan has to be twisting in his grave when you've got a wing of the Republican Party that's so isolationist and so unwilling to stand up against authoritarians.
And look, even against that backdrop that Senator Warner is talking about there, you do have Republicans who are sounding the alarm that they want to hear at least answers as to how this money is going to be used. Continuous conversation here on the Republican side about not giving a blank check to Ukraine, even though we've seen support come in more militaristic, tangible terms over the course of the last year plus of this conflict.
We've heard over and over again that Zelensky is his own best messenger in terms of rallying support.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what's McCarthy now saying this morning about Zelensky's visit to the Capitol.
Well, look, we know that Zelensky has been an effective messenger. Of course, we saw him earlier this week at the UNGA General Assembly. He has also spoken here on Capitol Hill, having given joint addresses. But in this instance, McCarthy was clear this morning. Zelensky asked to do that, and McCarthy said no. He also asked to do a full House briefing and was declined that opportunity too. McCarthy instead opting to do this just among some key members of his conference on the Democratic and Republican leadership sides, and then some key committee chairmen. But this is how McCarthy was talking about this meeting going into it this morning. Watch that.
Zelensky asked for a joint session. We just didn't have time. He's already given a joint session. So what we're doing for Zelensky is exactly the same thing that we did for the Prime Minister of the UK, the Prime Minister of Italy. We're putting the bipartisan group of members together to meet with him. No different than we did with anybody else. I think the best part is sit down and walk through the question. What is the plan for victory? Where are we currently on the field? The accountability issues that a lot of members have questions.
And that's true. Members within McCarthy's conference do have questions. We're likely to see just behind me the Ukrainian delegation, I believe, coming through just in the next few seconds here, Anna. So we'll keep an eye on that as we see a very busy morning beginning to happen here on Capitol Hill bright and early.
Okay, thanks for that update. Please keep us posted, Ali. Ambassador Taylor, I want to get your reaction to what we just heard in those comments from Speaker McCarthy.
So, Anna, the legitimate questions. It's fine to ask for accountability. It's fine to ask for the plan. And President Zelensky has given this and will give this. He probably just gave this answers to the House. He's about to do the same thing on the Senate side. As you've just indicated, the Senate is solid. The Senate is solid. There are a couple of voices over there. Even in the House, the committee chairs are solid. When you ask Americans if they support Ukraine, they do. If you ask Americans, as Senator Warner just said, if they oppose a dictator taking over a smaller country, they do. So this is going to be the question that President Zelensky will address, and I think he will address it well.
Ambassador McFaul, it has been more than 18 months now since the start of this Russian invasion. What are the key questions you would have for Zelensky?
Well, the key question is, what is the strategy for victory? I agree with Speaker McCarthy that should be talked about. I think his answer will be, having seen President Zelensky just a couple weeks ago in Kiev, give us the means to defeat Putin. I think that's part of the strategy. If you want to defeat Putin, you have to give him the resources you need, including the weapons that the Ukrainians need to defeat Mr. Putin. Second, on accountability, I think that's also a very legitimate question. Just like Ambassador Taylor said, I think President Zelensky will have the answers to that. You're showing the footage of them walking in. He's walking in with his new defense minister.
And these are live images, I should note.
Yes, he just walked in. He's brand new. There were allegations of misconduct in terms of the use of money within the Ministry of Defense. President Zelensky responded to that. He now has a new Minister of Defense, and I hope that he'll give the floor to Minister Umerov to talk about his ideas for greater accountability within the military as well.
Ambassador Taylor, a senior administration official, tells NBC News that President Biden later today is expected to announce more security aid for Ukraine. What kind of support do you think is needed at this point to push Ukraine into the next phase of this war?
To help Ukraine in the next phase, Anna, the administration needs to agree to provide the long-range weapons that the Ukrainians have indicated for months that will help them in this counteroffensive. This will give them the ability to go deep into Russian-held territory, to disrupt the analytics, disrupt the logistics, disrupt the movement of reserves around the battlefield behind the Russian lines. These long-range weapons will be important, and I think this can come.
Ambassador McFaul, General Mark Milley this week said Ukraine had liberated more than 54% of the territory occupied by Russia since its invasion. What does that tell you? How significant is that number in terms of how the counteroffensive is going?
Well, it's a good reminder to put the context of the counteroffensive in the greater scope of the war. Putin has not achieved any of his military objectives in Ukraine, right? He lost the Battle of Kiev. He lost the Battle of Kharkiv. He's lost 53% of the territory he once held. He claimed he wanted to unite all the Slavs under one nation. He hasn't done that. He wanted to wipe out and eliminate the alleged, his words not mine, Nazi regime there under President Zelensky. Zelensky's in full control. I think that's very important for Americans to remember the wider context when we're talking about the counteroffensive right now. Tragically, this is a very powerful military. Russia's dug in deep, and I think there are going to have to be more than just this counteroffensive. And I suspect that's the message that President Zelensky will say, too. Give us the means to defeat the Russians in our country. Allow us to liberate them. Don't tie our hands through limited military assistance and limited economic assistance.